Welcome to Skibidi Toilet Baku, my dudes. Baku, as we know, is a very crazy and unpredictable circuit since it seems that everything that can go wrong has gone wrong here. And at the stage we are at right now in the season is anything to go by, then I'm expecting carnage to erupt. Or maybe nothing happens because for some reason, these races start well and then I wake up on the last lap. But I'm holding on to hope, especially since there's maybe a chance that rank could fall here, which given the region, I'm pretty sure won't happen, but never say never, I guess. Anyways, the top 5, as we know, has recently been shaken up in a big way, and I don't mean a point swing way since that would be way too simple for the McLaren team. At Monza, I'm sure you remember how their team orders caused a big fuss on the internet since apparently Piastri is going to lose the title now by over 3 points. But regardless of what we think about the incident, we could maybe see a more angrier Piastri and a more determined Lando here. And aside from Canada, which I'm still confused about, we haven't seen these guys truly give it their all for the race win. Yes, he had bits and pieces from the season, but I'm talking going full raw on somebody's ass, no Vaseline. And given the track we are at, perhaps this is the final push they need to go full bonkers on each other. That would be amazing, but again, as we know, the team will likely shut that down before we can have any fun. 2026 cannot come any sooner. Anyways, let us discuss the track. The track, as we know, looks, well, it just looks. It should be a pretty ass circuit, which it is, but for some reason, it just produces peak. Drivers always lose their focus here. Maybe it's the walls, maybe it's because the roads are wide and then tight. Maybe there's nothing at all and they just dick around here for fun. I don't know what it is, but this circuit is a load of fun and the drivers seem to agree so, especially Charles Leclerc, who has taken pole here the last 5 times we visited, but always loses the race either due to a midfield car, engine blowing up, or an illegal car behind him. And I'm sad to report, sports fans, I don't think this year will be any different. And to make it doubly worse, we don't have Checo anymore here, which means no one-off Senna performance to look at this week. But boo-hoo. Let's see if this year was any fun like those years by recapping the weekend and finding some winners and losers. So go join the Discord to experience the weekends live and subscribe if you're new if you hate oppressive countries. So enough yapping and let's get to quacking.
See those clouds up in the corner? That's where the rain is coming from.
Recap first, people, and we didn't really have much news in the midweek. I mean, there was the Hadjar news of him maybe being promoted, but I already covered that in my video, which you should totally watch, by the way. Anyways, there was also the news that my glorious King Checo is going to drive the SF23 to prepare for 2026, I guess. May God bless his soul. And the much bigger news of George Russell. Unlike Checo, maybe George isn't going to drive this week since apparently he's feeling a bit under the weather. This would mean Bottas would take the seat, which aside from the irony, would be pretty funny since he would have to serve that fly place grip penalty. At least he's not Jensen. Also in the news cycle was Charles Leclerc being abducted by the CCP to train their soldiers for war. Let me explain. It's been reported that apparently, and I kid you not, Charles Leclerc's brain data was stolen for military robotics purposes in China via the use of a sports headband to train his mind. Charles wasn't the only athlete to experience this, by the way, since many other ones had their brain data stolen too. Now, I know what you might be thinking, darn you CCP, but no. All I see is glorious Xi Jinping deeming Charles's mind strong enough to train his soldiers in the country, which I take as a compliment. So God bless Charles Leclerc and glory to the CCP and Xi Jinping. Anyways, that was it for the news, and let's get into the weekend now, starting with Friday and the free practices. FP1 first up, and other than a red flag due to Carlos leaving his sticky cum towel on the track, nothing much would happen. I mean, the basic things happen like drivers going off or especially hitting the walls, but this is Baku, which means none of this won't really be improved as the weekend goes on. However, notable people did hit the wall, mainly Piastri and Lewis, which I'm sure won't be an omen for the weekend, and Hadjar did get blocked by Sainz, but tell me something else that is new than Sainz being blind. But perhaps the most surprising thing of all from this session was that at the end of it, Yuki was faster than Max. Is this a Tsunoda comeback? Is Max Verstappen the first driver to be washed at 28 with 2 kids? Is Laura Mekies a human? Who knows? Anyways, if you can't tell, nothing happened, so let's just move on to FP2. This session would feature more funny bits, thankfully, since of course, you had Lando hitting the wall and ending his session, but as we saw in Monza, things need to be fair now between the McLaren drivers, so just a couple of moments later, Piastri hits the wall as well, cementing McLaren as abysmal dog shit this session. This opened up the heavens for a different looking session, and even though it's only FP2, Ferrari finished 1-2 in the session and subsequently for the rest of the weekend. Sorry, this is how Formula 1 goes from now on. Also, seems seems everyone in this session was dozing off since he had many hit the barriers, many almost lose it, and many go off the road. And guys, there is only FP3 now until qualifying, so if the drivers don't get their act together, then I will be seated for this masterclass weekend. But aside from the little funny moments, the running order would be the same old, same old. Despite FP2, McLaren are fastest with a nice gap to Ferrari in second, who are a bit ahead of Merc and Red Bull, who are basically the same pace-wise. In the midfield, it seems Haas are pretty fast, while Racing Bulls and Williams chase behind. So now we have Saturday with FP3 and qualifying. If these sessions are boring, I will move to the desert and die of dehydration.
Again.
The day begins with FP3, and as if the drivers weren't already struggling here, there was rain overnight, which has now completely changed the track conditions, effectively putting everybody back to square one. Nice. Despite that though, the drivers now know what to expect here, so there are way less incidents. So as things stand, McLaren are the fastest and expected to take pole. However, don't count out Charles or Lewis for a shock result. Please be a good thing, and I guess take notice of Max and the two Mercs as well, since they looked good. Alright, qualifying. Don't leave me upset. Q1 begins, and it's the usual shenanigans of drivers finding the limit. However, right before all the top dogs can set their time, Alba wanting to prove his worth to Red Bull again caused the red flag early on after looking good in the session. However, right when the session restarts, Piastri is again almost compromised since I guess Hulk wanted second in Silverstone, causing another red flag. Guys, I'm getting scared. Fear reinforced since right when the session ends, we got our third red flag thanks to Gasly getting stuck in the runoff. Oh wait, it was actually for Colapinto at the very same corner. Wonderful quali, lads. What else do you have for me, Flavio Briatore, self-proclaimed genius? But now for Q2, and go fuck yourself, man. We took 40 minutes for Q1, and how does Q2 begin? With another red flag. Lads, what are we doing here? Just 2 years ago, we had a sprint race here, and that went fine. Why is everyone crashing now? Whatever. Now Q2 can begin, and that was weird. I just woke up right now, which essentially means nothing happened in Q2 was real. Man, what a weird event. I feel like I got dino snapped. Good thing nothing happened. Anyways, let's see Q3 now, and as if qualifying couldn't get any weirder, it is kind of raining now, but not enough for inters yet, but just enough to spice things up. Let's see which dumbass crashes out now. Whoa, I blacked out again. That's weird, but the rain is proper falling down now, and Sainz was the first one to set his lap along with the two Racing Bulls, which means, people, if the track doesn't get any drier, Carlos would be on pole from Liam and Isaac. Man, what is this day? So the red flag is out for some reason. Remember, I blacked out. And now we look to the rain to see what happens. The verdict is, it passed and the track is drying. So sorry, Carlos, no pull for you, but we will monitor your performance regardless. Anyways, cars go back out and oh my god. Piastri just crashed with 3 minutes still on the clock. Sainz could yet still be on pole, guys. 6 red flags in this session. A new record, and we still have more to go. This right here is Lando's golden ticket now. In these 3 minutes, he must get pole once the red flag lifts. By the way, it's been a full race distance and we are not done with Q3, but now is the opportunity. 3 minutes. Everyone has one shot to set a lap. Lando goes first, and this guy's sliding everywhere, dropping time at every corner. Lando finishes a disappointing 7th after the golden opportunity slips away. Russell goes second, and then Liam gets second of all people. And as the session ends, it's Max on pole right at the line. If I had a nickel for every time Max took pole away from Williams right at the line after a crazy qualifying session, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's still weird it happened twice. What a qualifying. Max on pole from Sainz and Liam. Oh, the irony. But now we have the race. May God help us all. No race delay, so lap 1 begins and everyone gets off the line well except for a certain somebody, and I would say it's been a good first lap, but no, this is the best week ever as a certified McLaren hater. It feels so good when I'm allowed to hate freely. Oscar Piastri, quote-unquote generational driver, starts in P9 after a quali crash, and then what does he do? He jumps the start, stalls on the grid, and crashes before we're even halfway through the lap, all on his own accord. And god damn it, why does Lando have to be his rival? This could be so huge in the title, but unless chaos happens, Lando's gonna get like 10 points over him instead of 25. But alas, let us see what happens now. This race is very competitive since everybody is stuck to each other and passing, So imagine my shock when I hear there could be rain. That's probably not going to happen, but let us see, since anything could realistically happen now. So the race calms down, with the only notable bit being Colapinto getting smooched by Albon, but now the first and final stops happen for the medium runner, so let us see how this race evolves. Answer: it kinda does not, since nothing really exciting happens, and now the race is getting a bit predictable, unfortunately. So this goes on until the final 10 laps, and now the battles are for 5th between Lawson, Yuki, Charles, Hamilton, and Norris, and the battle for 3rd between Sainz and Kimi, while George and Max comfortably lead. And this order will go on until the end of the race, with Max winning a dominant race from Russell and Sainz, who gets Williams their first podium, surprisingly. Overall, it was a pretty good race. I had my fun like always, but I would be a fool to admit that it didn't get a little boring towards the end. Alright, now for the winners and losers, and as always, losers first, and I begin with my favorite French team, Alpine. You just couldn't write their weekend. Somehow every single time they stepped into the car this week, it got worse and worse. They looked fine, I guess, in the free practices, but kept going backwards until it all culminated in qualifying, where both cars, I kid you not, at the same time crashed in 2 separate incidents. Name me something more Alpine to happen. This also comes off of the news of Gasly's renewal and Colapinto basically being locked in for 2026, so wonderful weekends, lads. And of course, the race wasn't anything to write home about either, and this raises many concerns with Alpine. I mean, I have to mention this again. Alpine have 20 points and are comfortably last in the standings with little hope to improve in the rest of the season. Alpine are just cooked. I don't know, man. I have 0 words for you. Next is Oscar Piastri, because hear me out. He is comfortably ahead in the title before this weekend, 31 points ahead, and he still has a gap to Lando, but he messed up. By crashing in qualifying and the race, he allows Lando to put distance between them in the title. Oscar needs to ensure that every weekend will not be like this one, because who says he could recover? If he crashes in a place like Singapore, then what? That place is impossible to overtake. Or he could crash in Q1 or again in the race and severely ruin his chances. Fuck, this is Lando Norris I'm comparing him to. Everything I said with Oscar applies, but come on, it's Lando we're talking about. When Lando crashes, Oscar takes home big points. When Oscar crashes, Lando takes home like 6 points over him. Regardless, McLaren are the real losers again, since these guys love showing us why they don't deserve to be champions. Next up is Esteban Ocon, who I worry for, you know. What I mean is, I don't think he is falling off or whatever, it's just that lately he has been very careless. He is starting to get really pushed around by Ollie and is starting to typically be behind him now in most sessions, even when Ollie himself messes up. This weekend, of course, was no different. This honestly would have been hard to predict after the beginning parts of the season. Esteban was looking real comfortable in that Haas car, but these past six or just 6 past weekends have seen Esteban making more mistakes or just being slower than Ollie. And keep in mind, Ollie has been racking up 10 place grid penalties for simply breathing in the wrong direction, so what does this say about Esteban? I'm sure this is just poor form, and once he touches down Singapore and Coda, I'm sure he'll get back up to form and start performing for Haas again. But for now, shame, Esty Bestie, shame. Next up is some team. Gosh, I can't remember what happened. For some reason, I black out every time I think of a team, so I'm sorry guys. There is a team here. I couldn't tell you which, but after many crashes throughout the weekend and disappointing from one day to the next, compromising the race, it led to a horrible weekend for them. If only I could remember this team, man. Sorry for blacking out, guys. Finally, I have Alex Albon. There's really nothing much to say here since his deal was very simple. He was ass, slow in practice, fucked the quality, and the race was certainly no better. This season, Alex has been fantastic, but this race will certainly be one to forget, especially when you check how Sainz did in his horrible season. I'm sure Alex will get back up to form for Singapore, but this race was certainly nothing to celebrate for him. Now we have the winners, and I begin with Red Bull, who please save us. You were once our oppressors, and we don't want you back, but you're the only ones who can help us now. Max is simply too good for the sport now. Simple as that. In a grid where everyone is just crashing and sliding, Max is the only guy not slipping and keeping the car on the road. After the qualifying, his win was cemented, which, hey man, 2 wins in a row now, and even without McLaren being stupid, he likely would have been on pole. Could they do it, you know? Singapore is going to be an uphill battle, but after, these are all going to be tracks that the car loves, so keep your big ol' eye on him. Plus, Yuki is looking much faster again, albeit he's still down, but he is getting there. Laura Mekis, you have moved me. Please come back to Ferrari, man, please. Next, I have Mercedes, since they looked real for once. I actually remember they were here since George was fighting and Kimi wasn't crashing. George is especially impressed since my man was suffering from like the bubonic plague or something, yet he was competitive all weekend long. Plus Kimi looked generally good again, and I swear, if the solution to his problems were just not to be in mainland Europe again, then whatever works, man, whatever works. Mercedes made me chuck a smile again, so good shit, Mark. Now to get even faster for Singapore, which given the plethora of things that have happened to them at that track, then maybe I should pre-write the loser section for them. Moving on, I have Racing Bulls since they were a unit this week. Racing Bulls, after the bad race in Monza, needed this, and man did it pay off. Both Liam and Isaac were fast as hell this week, and by keeping it clean, they finished pretty neat. It's always good to see the Red Bull family doing well, especially after rumors with the Nauta bullshit come out. Liam is apparently supposed to be bad enough to be sacked, but this week, he looked like a dummy for doing that. Plus, Yuki did well this week, which doesn't warrant a demotion, so this is why I say, don't change things, Red Bull. Keep everything as it is. But yeah, Racing Bulls were just solid this week and got a nice haul of points to their rivals. Finally, I have Sainz, who gets so many brownie points from me. All season long, he has been, for lack of a better term, ass, but not this week. This week, he looked like the driver Williams signed and he nearly got the pole position. Albeit, a crazy amount of shit happened, but this shouldn't be discredited. Some might say Albon could have gotten pole, but then why wasn't Albon in Q3? Sainz was fantastic, so let's just not discredit him, guys. Plus, the race, he fought so hard for everything and got Williams their first podium of the season. Carlos was simply put MVP of the weekend, so good shit to him. Just a shame he missed on pole position, but look on the bright side, now he's not going to have a kid in 9 months. Now for the bonus category of the week, and I have the Bottler of the Week sponsored by Lando Norris, and I have Oscar Piastri. I mean, come on, man, you can't do that. Oscar tried really hard to go home early, so there's genuinely nothing to say other than pointing and laughing. Finally, let's look at how my predictions ended up, plus my bingo card. My quality predictions were just horrible, but hey man, I did predict a Williams in the top 5, so you gotta give me credit for that. My race predictions were wrong, but I don't think that's surprising given how qualifying went. My random prediction was wrong since despite the 6 red flags, none of them fit in my scenario, but screw you, man, I at least get half points. Your predictions were either close or way far off, which sounds about right if I'm being honest. Also, trust this guy's cousin, maybe he's onto something. And finally, my bingo card has 2 updates to it and was an overall very successful weekend for me, and those were my winners and losers from Baku. Overall, I enjoyed this weekend as much as I could, and now we fully leave this side of the world in 2 weeks' time for the Singapore Grand Prix. That race is bound to be a snoozer, but you could always expect me to report on it either way, so stay tuned, peoples. Anyways, I want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock for their continued support. Make sure to join if you want cool benefits as well as just helping me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe since it helps me out. Make sure to let me know in the comments who your winners and losers were, and as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.